Let's talk free kick. Free kick takers. So look, this video was spawned upon because of Messi scoring yet another free kick. And I think it's something we sort of discussed before because I was about to say, okay, well, we know Messi's dribbling, we know his goal scoring, we know his passing, his creativity. But is Messi the greatest free kick taker ever? Because there was a point where, okay, he'd scored the odd free kick here and there. But as he grew older and older, it was like, no, this guy is scoring a lot of free kicks. Oh, this guy is now proficient at free kicks. Oh, this guy is now lethal at taking free kicks. So I thought, wait, is what it is. So what I thought, I think especially after him scoring that free kick again, the free kick, the clutch free kick winning goal for Inter Miami, the other clutch free kick again that sent that game into, I think, extra time or penalties. I said, no, we have to have a discussion as to where does Messi rank amongst the greatest and best free kick takers? So really, my criteria was a combination. How much of a threat you are at free kicks, technique used, accuracy, conversion rates, and also the impact you've had on that skill of taking a free kick. So just put all those things combined as my criteria as to who should be the top five. So we're going to do it 5. I was about to say, can we do it 10, a 12? No, I said I think it would be best to whittle this down and put it in as a 5. You know, I thought that would be the best thing to roll through. So before we get there, I want to do some honorable mentions. The guys that didn't make the list. So, where are we here? Aha, there we go. So, where should we go? Let's go here. You see, your boy, Ronaldinho was very good. He was a very good free kick taker. I just felt that these 5 I felt were better than him. But Dino was a very, very good free kick taker. And I think his free kick technique was like, I think the kind of usual one where purely about technique, you know, coming in at the side, trying to get the loofah. And again, his most famous free kick, arguably one of the best, most infamous, craziest, iconic World Cup goals was that goal he scored against England, where did he mean it? Did he not mean it? He meant it. He's freaking Brazilian. If he was from Greenland or from Alaska, it would be a mistake. He's from Brazil. He meant to chip Seaman, and he saw Seaman off his line. So, but I think Dino, as good as he was at free kicks, and he was good, he really wasn't known for it. He was known more for his technique, his salini, his passing, and him being one of only 2 players to score 100% on the eye test, you know. But I just thought, you know, it's just good to have an honorable mention in there because he did score some nice free kicks, and I did like his technique as well. He had a very, very nice technique. Another one here is this. There's a myth. Growing up, I thought Roberto Carlos was like an amazing free kick taker in terms of his conversion rate. Well, one of these guys is a free kick guy. But here's the thing. Roberto Carlos scored the most iconic. Greatest, best, we will get there. But he scored the most iconic free kick ever scored. Because I remember when I was in school, they actually had like this kind of diagram on one of our boards that tried to scientifically explain the physics of what he did. Because this was Brazil against France in Le Tournoi in 97 before the 98 World Cup. And I think this had France, Italy, England, and Brazil, I believe, those 4 teams, Le Tournoi. So where the ball literally, it went away from the goal and then busted. So I think really what was the thing about the free kick was how hard he hit it. And the kind of ferocity of how he hit it and where he hit the ball made it do a once-in-a-lifetime thing. Roberto Carlos can try and do that 1,000 times. He will not be able to score it with that kind of an accuracy. But he wasn't as great a free kick taker. I think I can remember, 2 free kicks that Roberto Carlos scored. So his conversion rate wasn't very good. And I remember every single time he'd step out to take a free kick for Real Madrid or Brazil, guys would be like, oh, my, here we go. And I'm like, whoa. So afterwards, I was like, wait a minute, no. He just scored the most iconic free kick. But in terms of a consistent free kick threat, he just wasn't that, you know. So that was the big footballing like urban myth of like, oh, Roberto Carlos is like an amazing free kick taker. No, he just scored one iconic free kick. And another honorable mention I wanted to bring up was this dude, Jose Luis Chilavert, who played for Paraguay. And also, he tried to run for president, obviously unsuccessful, I think, with the youth party. But that's failed. So he was a politician as well. Now, what's the funny thing about this image here? Yes, he's a keeper. So I remember, and also, guys, actually, South America is funny because you have Chilavert, a keeper taking free kicks, and you have your boy from Colombia, Rene Higuita, who I met, by the way, who thought he was an outfield player and used to play out, not playing for the ball, literally play through the pitch as an outfield player. So yeah, I think why I wanted to mention this was it was crazy. So they said in the '98 World Cup, it was the first time in World Cup history that a keeper attempted a free kick, and I think he scored like 60-something goals. So that was a combo of free kicks and penalties, but he was pretty good. But what was just so crazy, why I wanted to mention this, because we're talking about free kicks, is the fact that you had a keeper coming in to take free kicks, and he was good. He was actually, his conversion rate was actually pretty good, and he scored some pretty nice free kicks for Paraguay. So I just thought that was pretty interesting. So if you're young and maybe this was before your time, go into YouTube, do your YouTubes, and then look at Jose Luis Chilavert and him taking his free kicks, man. So shout out to the Chilavert kid from Paraguay. Cristiano Ronaldo. You have to admit that. And Cristiano Ronaldo, I think his technique was, a bit similar to Juninho's, where it was standing still and he would hit it. So his technique was like Juninho's, but Juninho just really fully perfected it. Because remember, Cristiano was like after Juninho, so he probably got influenced by Juninho, I believe. I think, he probably did. Yeah, I think he probably did. Yeah, because remember, Juninho was at the '06 World Cup as like a new kid on the block. So yeah, Cristiano at United was lethal. I think it was against Portsmouth. I think it was the goal against Portsmouth that was freaking insane. That was a mad goal that he scored, which that ball just swerved like crazy. Who was it? I think it was James in goal. I think it wasn't James in goal. He had no freaking chance. So Cristiano, but then I think Real Madrid, it was sort of up in the air. I think he was much more lethal at United and early days Real Madrid than he was in the later days. We obviously know the iconic goal that he scored against Spain at the World Cup. But I just think that his conversion rates just, I think, went down later on in his career. Hence why I don't think he made the list. Because I think if he had continued with the conversion rate and what he was doing at United, he'd have easily made the top 5 list, easily. But the conversion rate just was not there. Toni Kroos, another pretty good one, And I think he scored, even if it didn't really mean anything, it was a pretty iconic one that he scored, obviously against Sweden from the angle, man. So now let's get it. So the top five. So remember, my criteria was pretty much about your technique, free kick conversion rates, threats from free kick range, and and your impact on that skill. So the first one I put in as number 5 was your boy, and this may surprise people, James Ward-Prowse. Guys, whoa. I think that, first of all, his technique is amazing. It's outstanding. And I think it's to the point where every time he does have a free kick, it is a genuine threat. And when you just look at his technique, how he strikes the ball and his approach to the ball, you can see that it isn't just a guy taking a free kick. It's a guy who is pretty much specializing at the skill. So if you look at how many free kicks he scored, the type of goals he scored, the accuracy of the free kicks that he's executed, I mean, he generally, for me, because he's easily, when you look at the names I'll mention, he's easily the worst player amongst this 5. He's going to be the worst player that I'll actually name in this video. But this is about free kicks. It's not about how good you are of a player. It is the specialist skill of taking free kicks. And for me, for what he's done and the amount of free kicks he's scored, I have got to put him on the list. So for me, I put him in there as a number 5. I put him in there as number 5 because you cannot name me 5 better free kick takers than this guy in terms of their technique, their conversion rates, and how much of a threat they are from various ranges and angles than this dude. So shout out to your boy, James Ward-Prowse, who I put in here as a number 5 man. So, number 4. And this guy is close to my heart. This is one of my favorite players of all time and a guy who I believe is one of the best midfielders of all time. The Pearl. Shout out to the Pearl. Now, funny thing about Pirlo, because Pirlo is interlinked with another name on this list, but I don't want to spoil things for you guys out there. He changed his technique. Pirlo his technique used to be similar to like Ronaldinho's. You know, coming at an angle, loofah. So his technique was a bit similar to even Ward-Prowse as well. But Pirlo looked at a certain player. I'm not going to name his name. He looked at a certain player and was like, boom. That's how you take it. So once he did, he realized that I've got to change my technique and rather come in at an angle, look at how I strike the ball. And once he changed his technique, his free kick taking was so pep. To the point of where, when I used to play FIFA, I used to pick Juve with I can't remember which FIFA it was, but there was a FIFA that I used to play, and I always used to pick Juve because they had Pirlo. And bro, I always used to say, like, just give me a free kick. And I was actually pretty damn good at free kicks with Pirlo on that FIFA game, man. So I think, and for me, there's, again, first of all, just look at what it looks like. There's just a beauty. There is just a beauty, a grace, and elegance as to when Pirlo strikes the ball. And when you just see how he strikes the ball and how he just makes the ball move, which was because he saw a certain guy. That's why, for me, he gets in on this list. And I think, obviously, because he goes over Ward-Prowse, because I just think his technique was at a different level. And the kinds of goals he scored from the various distances. And I just think when you just look at the palette of G's that he put through is the reason why I'm going to put Pirlo in on this list. So for me, Pirlo was number 4. And I believe that a key thing why he made this list was his change in technique. And that change in technique I thought was very, very, very key in him getting on this list and being one of the most proficient free kick takers that I think the game has ever seen. So shout out to boy Pirlo. Number 3. And for a long time, this guy was, I think, the greatest free kick taker that anyone had ever seen. You know, for a long time, I believe this guy was. Sorry, before I even get, actually, no, I'll probably do that. I'll do that there because there's another name that I forgot. Becks. I call Becks the most overrated player of all time. I don't think he was that good, and I believe that he was overrated. I think as a footballer, in terms of first touch, balance, dribbling, and on the ball ability, it wasn't it. As a set piece specialist, this guy was stupid. So Becks' technique was, I think, like an old school technique before a certain guy changed the technique. So his technique was the kind of like old school traditional technique, which is coming in at an angle, which was Pirlo's old technique, a bit of Ward-Prowse's technique, and of course Ronaldinho's technique. But whenever Becks had a free kick, it felt like a penalty. Because he was so good at when the ball, like from a set piece situation, accurately saying, I'm going to get the ball from point A to point B. It was scary. It was scary how accurate he was with the ball. Despite his on the ball ability, how he was able to scientifically laser guide the ball to a specific section of the goal of someone's head was stupid. So what I've never argued with is when that ball is still, what Becks was able to do with his foot, that's why they say Bennett like Beckham, what he was able to do with his foot was crazy. So for a long time, Becks was seen as this is the most lethal and the most dangerous free kick taker ever. And I think many people said, no, this is the greatest free kick taker that we've ever seen. And the key thing was, he was before the other 2 guys that we have on our list. But yeah, for a long time, it was stupid. And we all remember, obviously, the free kick he scored against Colombia at the 98 World Cup. And of course, the clutch free kick he scored against Greece to send England into the O2 World Cup. So those are big, huge clutch free kicks. But again, Diogo goes go to YouTube and the it's just the accuracy. The accuracy of his free kicks was just stupid. It was just freaking stupid. And I think for me, he's probably one of the best. He's arguably the best free kick taker with this old technique before a certain player sort of updated that technique, because his thing was coming at an angle and just use pure technique. So rather than power, it's about pure technique and guiding it through the angle in which you run up to the ball and how you strike that ball. But yeah, no, Bex was stupid. He was stupid. Number two. He's number two now. See, for a long time, I was like, okay, say Bex, Messi. But as each year went on, and Messi just continues to tallies up, I think that conversion rate just pushed him ahead of Bex. I was like, yes, we have to accept that Lionel Messi is the second greatest and best free kick taker that I think the game has ever seen. And I just think he improved, because early Messi was not known as a free kick taker, really, dribbler. But as he grew older, became much more mature, became wiser as a player, I think he was like, okay, I don't have the speed anymore. I don't have the legs anymore. I now have to work on my passing. I'm going to work on my creating. I'm not going to work on my footballing intelligence. And you know what? This free kick thing, let me work in. So I do believe Messi puts in a lot more work into free kicks in training than he did earlier on in his career. And I just think that, and the funny thing is that he uses like an old technique. Again, I'll tell you the guy who uses the new technique, but I think he uses the old technique of, there is a bit of power there, but it's really coming in at an angle. But I think he took like the Beck's technique to a different angle, because I just feel that we thought Beck's was accurate. Messi just is far more accurate from different distances. And I think the free kick that I think that said, okay, hold your horses. A free kick that I think is greater than anything Beck's has done, Pirlo has done, or Ward-Prowse has done, was that free kick against Liverpool in the UCL. Again, you've seen my reactions to where I literally screamed, and I think I had twins. I think I gave birth to twins as a man, because it was Alisson was in goal, arguably one of the best keepers in the world at the time. The distance of where it came from, it was a UCL semi, and the amount of power he had to generate, the amount of accuracy he had to generate, and how that guy from the distance he was at put that ball in the freaking top corner against Alisson. I was like, oh, no, this is now stupid. So, and the fact is that he's still scoring them. And his conversion rates at this age and where he's at right now is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. So we just have to just accept, we cannot argue. He is one of the greatest free kick takers we've ever seen. And again, it just adds to his legend of, we know this guy's goal scoring. We know this guy's passing. We know this guy's dribbling. And he's one of the greatest goal scorers we've seen. He's one of the best dribblers we've seen. He's one of the best passers of the ball we've seen. And now, I'm sorry, he's the second greatest free kick taker we've ever seen. So you cannot argue with it. You cannot argue with it because he has scored so many. And because for me, I wouldn't say like his technique, because we'll talk about technique very soon. I think his technique it's an old school technique, but it's just the accuracy at which he does it. Because again, when you look at the amount of goals that Messi scores, I'll tell you what it's about. When you look at the goals, what is Messi's signature goal? It's outside the box, and then he just guides it into the bottom left-hand corner. So Messi's has always been a thing about accuracy over power. Now, which is what's made that Liverpool goal so amazing, because he had to combine and balance power with accuracy. But I think Messi has always been, how he scores his goals is, I'm looking, rather than power, I'm looking for accuracy, pinpoint accuracy. And just his accuracy of being able to get just the right enough of power and guide that ball in past a keeper is freaking insane. So the conversion rate is stupid. And bro, come the Copa America next year, Humble will probably score another free kick, which will even add to his ridiculous conversion rates at this latest part of his career. So, second one. And the number one, the greatest free kick taker of all time, Juninho Pernambucano. So I mentioned Pirlo. So Pirlo used to have the old technique, coming in at an angle and trying to, get the ball through, which is what like Beckham and Juninho used to do. Then Pirlo said that he watched Juninho. And after watching Juninho, he said that I've got to change my technique. And Juninho, for me, the reason why he's number one is he changed how guys took free kicks. And I think Juninho's technique, I think it is the quintessential technique of how to take the perfect free kick. So the old technique was coming at an angle and just try to guide the ball through. But Juninho's technique was the ball, there's a sweet spot. There's a sweet spot. And I think he hits it with the front of his foot. So if you hit that, now sometimes he hits it with his side but the front. But the key thing is this. If you hit that sweet spot with enough power, keeping the accuracy, but you apply the right amount of power in the precise sweet spot of the ball, that thing is going to move. And it's going to move with such ferocity that it is almost impossible for a keeper to stop. Because literally, it is like the keeper is seeing an oncoming missile come through him. Because you know when a ball is moving fast because I watched his free kicks where literally the ball doesn't move. So as the ball is traveling like 30, 40 yards, the ball is like still. It's just going zoom. So rather than the ball spinning, it's just moving straight. Bro, this guy was doing 40-yarders. 40-yard. I'm like, this guy was executing 40-yard free kicks. I was like, that's insane. And the only way to do it was his technique of like, no, you have to just attack the ball at that specific right spot. If you attack the ball at that specific right spot, the amount of accuracy and power you will get on it, it is like a nuke. It's like the keeper. See, the old technique was, okay, it's accuracy, but I can get there. But this is accuracy plus it's like a nuke. So the keeper saying, yo, I'm getting a nuclear warhead. Houston, I'm getting a nuclear warhead. What up, baby? I didn't get out of this freaking nuke. So it's getting a nuke. So that's how basically. So Juninho said, look, let's nuke the ball. Rather than guide the ball, let's nuke it. So he said, warhead tax. So, and also, I saw his free kick against Barcelona, where, bro, this ball was from an angle. It was similar to Toni Kroos's free kick, but the ball was at a freaking angle. Like the Toni Kroos free kick against Sweden, 2018 World Cup, second to last game in the group. The thing was an angle, but he chipped freaking dude. And again, it was just his amazing technique. So look, any technique is fine. It's your preference because Messi uses a different technique and he's one of the greatest free kick takers that we've seen. But I do believe that, and I think it's your preference. But I do believe that because really, I think Pirlo felt comfortable in the old technique, but Pirlo was like, no. What this guy is doing, scientifically, this is how you can, this improves your conversion rate and improves the chance of your success rate of the free kick if, rather than just trying to accurately pinpoint it like Becks used to do, attack that ball. Because if you attack that ball, the amount of ferocity and venom you're sending the ball through, it makes it hard for the keeper. Because what you want is where it's literally impossible for the keeper to save it. And for the Juninho's technique, and what made Juninho so good is that because it's hard, it is very hard to precisely hit that sweet spot. But if you do and you find it, and it's somewhere on target, it's pretty much unsavable. It's pretty much unsavable. So that's why for me, he is the greatest free kick taker of all time, and I think he revolutionized the discipline. Where I feel that now keep your technique, but if you really want to improve your chances of scoring a free kick, I really do believe that Juninho's technique, I think, is the ideal technique in which to take free kicks. So it was superb. Cristiano Ronaldo, you have to admit that, and Cristiano Ronaldo, I think. His technique was, a bit similar to Juninho's, where it was standing still and he would hit it. So his technique was like Juninho's, but Juninho just really fully perfected it. Because remember, Cristiano was like after Juninho, so he probably got influenced by Juninho, I believe. I think, he probably did. Yeah, I think he probably did. Yeah, because remember, Juninho was at the '06 World Cup as like a new kid on the block. So Cristiano, at United was lethal. I think it was against Portsmouth. I think it was the goal against Portsmouth that was freaking insane. That was a mad goal that he scored, which that ball just swerved like crazy. Who was it? I think it was James in goal. I think it wasn't James in goal. He had no freaking chance. So Cristiano, but then I think Real Madrid, it was sort of up in the air. I think he was much more lethal at United and early days Real Madrid than he was in the later days. We obviously know the iconic goal that he scored against Spain at the World Cup. But I just think that his conversion rates just, I think, went down later on in his career. Hence why I don't think he made the list. Because I think if he had continued with the conversion rate and what he was doing at United, he'd have easily made the top 5 list, easily. But the conversion rate just was not there. Toni Kroos, another pretty good one, you know? And I think he scored, even if it didn't really mean anything, it was a pretty iconic one that he scored, obviously, against Sweden from the angle, man. So, guys, that's the thing, man, you know? Tell me what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree with my top 5? Who would you put in there? Because it's just my view. Who would you put in the top 5? Who would you take out of the top 5? And yeah, man, we shall discuss this more on the Hangouts and have much more of a debate about this as to who are the greatest free kick takers. I'm just talking about the discipline of free kicks, man. But shout out to your boy Messi, where, yeah, look, despite of everything is done, an argument that he's the second greatest free kick taker of all time, which is an insane achievement, man. Like the vid, subscribe if you're new. Peace out.